I can't post the picture here because I don't want to get flagged for any copyright violations. But it was a picture of a massive, massive starship model. Obviously something from a movie. And I pride myself on knowing most of my starships, but I could not identify this. Maybe it was Alien 3. There's a big difference between seeing a full-scale model on a sound studio or a film set versus then the actual movie itself. But it was interesting to see because I thought to myself, this thing is so big. This would be awesome in a war game. We talk about this narrative in the war game of the miniatures, of the terrain, of the rules, pulling you into that moment where for that moment, as a tabletop general, as a captain, as a commander, as a mech warrior, whatever it's going to be, as a pilot, making those decisions, putting yourself into the game. And from that perspective, what about a war game of space battles, capital ships, but big scale models? Size like something like 2 or 3 feet long. I mean, big scale models, the type of models that you would have to play outside in the street or perhaps play in a very, very large room. And that got me thinking, previously we talked about 3D printing, and we're just going to leave it at that. 3D printing is changing the wargaming hobby. But there's also this idea of it feels to me like early internet where ideas are shared, files are shared. There are so many creatives of people creating printable miniatures. And what if you could print up some pretty large generic starships? Might have to be in 2 or 3 pieces. But imagine that. I guess the flight stand would be like a pole and a wooden platform. Lots and lots of ships, 6 or 7 on each side, 10 on each side. Put aside for a moment how we would even transport these ships. I don't really know. But imagine that. Imagine playing like in a field. Then that got me, or a big open space. These like, so literally you're standing, right? Instead of pushing the ships around on the hex map, you're literally standing next to these ships and you're walking around. That could be cool. That could be like some immersion of some sort of holographic projector where the battle's going on, like Babylon 5, right? The Menbari, the battle's going on and the council's there watching it and it's being projected real time. That could be really, really cool. And then I was thinking, well, then you could take some massive bouncy ball, some big, huge bouncy ball and paint it up as a planet. And then you could have damage effects. Imagine that to put on the ships. That would be really, really cool. That would be worth the price of admission. And if it was kind of generic starships, then one could easily use a variety of rules. I think for something like that, now, how long would that take to set up? How long would that take to play? What would we even do for range? How would we measure range? I think range would be kind of not that precise. I think about when I play historicals. We have little range sticks. They're basically 6 or 12-inch sticks, broken down, painted in colors, alternating colors, inch by inch. And you can use that to kind of check your range and see what you can pull off with that charge for Napoleonics and DBA, DBN. Well, I would think like a stick that's maybe 6 feet or 5 feet painted in that way, where you would just measure that way and kind of walk it. All sorts of interesting, but essentially a mega scaled war game. Taking something and scaling it up so that you are physically participating. I guess like one of those giant chess sets where each chess piece is the size of a person. Visually imagine what that would look like. Setup time, breakdown time, play time, transport time. I don't know. I'm not quite there yet. But I'd be interested to hear your take on that. Imagine showing up at the club and out in the parking lot seeing that game. You're like, I'm in. I don't even know what it is, but I'm in. Very, very interesting. One could also say super scaled up, and this then had me thinking now, obviously, space-based, fleet-based games, that really captures my own personal narrative. I really like that. But something like Wings of Glory, a really amazing game. World War I, World War II. I used to build back in the day lots and lots of World War II models. One could easily purchase a bunch of those models, scale that up, and have some sort of air combat from that perspective. But would that really be big enough? I'd like to probably go with starships. Imagine a starship maybe 2 feet long, 3 feet long. And again, I think we'd have to print this in pieces and assemble it. That would be really, really cool. Your thoughts on mega scale games? I'm writing this one down. I'm putting this one. The Fritz project log is, right now I've got 2 things on the project log. The first is I'm working on a mass scale, miniature scale aliens type game. I love fighting aliens. I want to have like literally real time hundreds of aliens on the table. So we're going with wargaming historical scale and building some complexes. And I'm going to try and use the leading edge rules simply because I'm really familiar with them. They play pretty fast and they've got some interesting ways of spawning and dealing with the acid attacks on the alien. But that's ongoing. I started that back in December and I work on it a little bit here, a little bit there. I'm also writing this one down though. Mega scale war games. That would be really, really cool. Something you roll up to the club with and everyone is absolutely in.